Henry Cavill is finally speaking out against Hollywood's woke agenda, and it's explosive.
This brings so much nuance and detail to these characters, which are often at risk of being oversimplified, and what you guys have done with the characters has...
For years, he was the perfect company man, dedicated, hardworking, and fully committed to his roles. He brought Superman to life, made The Witcher a global sensation, and gave fans everything they wanted. But instead of rewarding his passion, Hollywood stabbed him in the back, rewriting beloved characters, pushing forced narratives, and ignoring the very fans who made these franchises successful.
You are genuinely a fan of the books and the game and everything. Apparently on set, you know more than anyone else.
I wouldn't necessarily say anyone else, but I'm a big fan.
Yes.
I'm a big fan.
Cavill fought back, refusing to let corporate agendas destroy what made these stories great. But instead of listening, studios shut him out. They dropped him as Superman, dismissed his concerns about The Witcher, and treated him like he was the problem. Now, he's firing back in a way no one expected, walking away from the franchises that betrayed him and taking control of his own future.
It's about the winning?
It's about taking part, Jim.
I see. It's about the journey along the way.
It's about winning or losing. It's about being there.
It's about being there and inhaling a lot of paint fumes with your friends.
Yes.
It all started when news broke out that Henry Cavill was leaving The Witcher, and fans were completely caught off guard. For someone who had been so deeply passionate about the role of Geralt of Rivia, it seemed almost unthinkable that he would walk away. But as more details started to surface, it became clear that his departure wasn't just about moving on. It was about standing his ground.
Yeah, so do you correct people?
I don't necessarily...
Henry's journey with The Witcher began long before Netflix even announced the series. As a devoted gamer and fantasy fan, he had already spent countless hours exploring the world of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. When he heard about the show, he didn't just sit back and hope for a casting call, he actively pursued the role. He pushed his agents to get him an audition, even before showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich had started her casting process. This wasn't just another acting gig for him, it was a dream come true. Once he landed the role, Henry dedicated himself entirely to bringing Geralt to life in the most authentic way possible. He read Andrzej Sapkowski's books, analyzed the game's storytelling, and even trained in sword fighting to make his movements feel natural. Fans quickly noticed the effort he put in, from the way he delivered Geralt's gruff voice to how he executed fight sequences with precision. But Henry's commitment to authenticity started to cause friction behind the scenes. While he wanted the series to remain faithful to Sapkowski's work, the show's writers had their own vision, which was often from the original material. Reports surfaced that Henry would push back against creative decisions he felt didn't align with the books or the game. He wasn't just nitpicking. He was advocating for the fans who loved The Witcher for what it was, not what Netflix wanted it to be. Tensions reportedly increased when Henry began challenging rewrites and questioning the direction of certain storylines. To him, it wasn't about being difficult. It was about preserving the integrity of a character that millions of fans adored. However, not everyone saw it that way. Some within the production team allegedly viewed his insistence on accuracy as a problem rather than an asset. The more he fought for authenticity, the more strained things became. It wasn't long before rumors started swirling about conflicts on set. Some sources painted Henry as someone who was too demanding, too rigid in his expectations. Others defended him, arguing that he was one of the few actors in Hollywood who actually cared about the material beyond just showing up and reading lines. He wasn't just playing Geralt, he was protecting the legacy of a beloved franchise. But in an industry where creative control often lies with executives, rather than the people who embody these characters, Henry's passion might have been seen as a threat rather than a strength. Eventually, the situation reached a breaking point. Henry Cavill officially announced his departure from The Witcher, and the backlash was immediate. Fans were outraged, not just because they were losing their perfect Geralt, but because they felt like this was another example of Hollywood ignoring the people who truly care about the source material. At the same time, another shockwave hit his fan base. His return as Superman was short-lived. After years of uncertainty regarding his future as the Man of Steel, he had finally been brought back into the DC universe, only to be let go once again when James Gunn and Peter Safran took over the franchise. Within a matter of weeks, Henry had lost both of his most iconic roles. It was almost too much for his fans to process. How could Hollywood keep sidelining an actor who was so dedicated to bringing these characters to life? But if there's one thing Henry Cavill has proven, it's that he's not one to sit around and wait for opportunities to come to him. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, he turned his focus to something he had been passionate about for years: Warhammer 40,000.
I've been involved in the Warhammer world for
40,000 years.
40,000 years. Oh, well, longer, depending how you look at it. But since I was probably 10.
A longtime fan of the tabletop game and its sprawling universe, Henry took matters into his own hands by partnering with Amazon to develop a Warhammer adaptation. This wasn't just another acting job for him. It was a chance to finally have creative control over something he loved. We have seen how woke Hollywood culture has impacted so many beloved franchises, and Henry Cavill's exit from The Witcher is yet another example of creative clashes that ultimately led to disappointment for fans. But this wasn't just about an actor leaving a show. It was about a passionate performer who wanted to stay true to the material he deeply respected, only to find himself at odds with a production team that had different priorities. His departure wasn't just a career move. It was a statement, a refusal to compromise on something he truly cared about. For Cavill, who had always been professional and gracious, leaving these iconic roles was undoubtedly a tough blow. He had stepped back into the role with enthusiasm, only to have the rug pulled out from under him. He didn't lash out publicly or express bitterness, but the disappointment was clear. Fans, on the other hand, were not as forgiving. They saw this as a betrayal, another example of Hollywood politics getting in the way of something that could have been great. The fact that this all happened so soon after his Witcher exit made it even more frustrating, as it felt like he had been unfairly cast aside not once, but twice. Some believe that Cavill's passion for staying true to his characters is what ultimately worked against him. He wasn't just a performer, he was an advocate for authenticity, someone who genuinely cared about the roles he took on. This kind of dedication should be celebrated, but in an industry that often prioritizes creative control and corporate decision-making, it can sometimes be seen as a problem. His desire to maintain the integrity of The Witcher may have made him difficult to work with in the eyes of some, but for fans, it only solidified their respect for him. The treatment Cavill received from both the Witcher team and DC Studios left a bad taste in the mouths of many. It is a clear reminder that even in Hollywood, where loyalty and passion should count for something, business decisions and shifting priorities can easily overshadow everything else. The optics of it all were terrible. An actor who had poured his heart into 2 major roles was pushed aside in favor of new directions that didn't seem to align with what fans wanted.